I create elevated, determined thoughts for the peace in the world, loveful feelings and pure feelings for each other. And when I sit with this thought, consistently creating these vibrations is like doing tapasya. So when there is just one thought, the intensity within that thought could reach to many, many souls and spread vibrations. And I always hold the vision for the world of love and peace. A world where everyone is happy, has abundance, because world is my family. So when I do tapasya, then Baba grants many, many blessings. And with those blessings, I am able to use those blessings as sharpening the arrows of love and peace through my thoughts. And those arrows can change fire into water, make impossible into possible, change hatred and jealousy into love. Every thought based on these blessings has a lot of power. So whenever there is time, I increase my tapasya, that is holding one thought, and receive blessings from Baba. And I will share those blessings with my worldwide family. Always remind yourself of the blessing which you receive. So now when we sit, take drishti from Baba, just stabilize your mind and take blessing from Baba, or use any blessing to grant blessings to others also.
Om Shanti. Welcome to Avyakti Parivar. Today is January 14. Raazyukt. Purity, a heart of truth, and a mind of courage. Now we'll be listening from Mohini Didi.
Om Shanti. You all had been thinking of your own self also as Arjuna, right? While listening, Murli, God is speaking to me. In the morning, I was really feeling truly God is talking to me. So it's a feeling of like personal conversation. Today I'm thinking of more Brahma-Baba as Arjuna, looking at his life of number one in getting the thoughts from Baba through knowledge or in yoga and taking initiative. First one to completely recognize, then belonging to Baba, surrender to Baba, and allowing Baba to use him as instrument. So he was number one in changing knowledge into thoughts, reasoning, that is intellect, in his words and actions. Baba only talked about knowledge in many different ways. He changed his lifestyle based on knowledge, made all Lokik relationships into a Lokik relationship. So that is why the purity of Baba was also number one. That is why from very beginning, when Baba said, I give Sakash to the children, and that Sakash used to work. Many situations we saw that when Baba gave a Sakash, we could see whether it is for obstacle, whether it's for helping children, whether for task expansion of Baba's service. All the time he used Sakash. Because when there is purity, then every thought has light and might. Purity increases the capacity of the thought. So light here could be like searchlight, Baba says. It just goes and uh, wherever, in whatever way it is needed, it does work, that light current. That means that the power which was there. So it was from purity. Because purity is such an energy, power in itself. We say these days I should have pure feelings, pure thought. But if I have pure, the thoughts will be pure, no? Actually, it is through our thoughts we can say my stage of purity. And also when there is power in our thoughts, because of our purity, then every thought gets accomplished. Mhm. Just imagine if you sow 5 seeds, five, you count them like maybe mango tree seeds, and every seed changes into a proper big tree because of the potential within that seed, power within that seed. I also see every thought as a seed. Then that seed we change into action. So whatever is thought or whatever is done, because of power of purity, it has full potential. So purity actually is our inner power. Right? That is why I always first say, I'm a pure soul. Baba is ever pure. I am pure soul. Baba is ever pure. But then when Baba came and he taught us about brahmacharya, in English we call it celibacy. But Baba says brahmacharya is not just celibacy, but Brahma Achra, brahmacharya. Achra means Baba's conduct, Baba's thoughts, Baba's words, Baba's activities, relationships. That is why Baba spoke morely in the morning. But those who really wanted to follow Baba, they always learned from Baba's company. Baba's walking, Baba's talking, playing with Baba was all the time learning because they want to learn the achran, how he sits, what he does when he walks, what is his awareness, how he helps when he goes around in kitchen, even ordinary actions. One can really follow every footsteps of Baba. And you might say, but how do we know? We have been together with Brahma-Baba. But all maryadas and the way we do things for yagya. So those traditions are there, right? Some people say, oh, I don't want to do these things traditionally. I said, they don't. They are from Brahmachara, no? This is how Brahma Baba did. He taught us, we learned, and now the tradition is going on. I don't want even to take one step on any other side than what Brahma Baba taught us, and he did to maintain uh, Brahmacharya. Brahmacharya. So more we think of what he thought, what he spoke, what he did, and this kind of purity creates a lot of super sensitive joy. Purity gives so much joy. And that joy is not external because externally you are following a discipline. Yes, for some, maybe in the beginning it was difficult, but this also came as our birthright, as our blessing from Baba. I remember once Sister Gayatri was asking someone at UN about brahmacharya celibacy. He was a priest. He said only chosen one can do that, otherwise not possible. And we know we are the chosen ones, right? Baba gave us blessing, he gave us birthright, and we found it very natural. Yeah, for some it took time to them, but otherwise it creates a very deep feelings of self-respect, and also supersensive joy. But look at purity more at all the levels. Right? In that honesty comes, simplicity comes, cleanliness, because pure person is honest, no, has nothing else, is very clean, and also very simple, like Brahma-Baba. Amazing simplicity, but royalty was there. Anyone who looked at Brahma-Baba, he looked so alokik, so royal. Even he was eating simple food, but in company of Baba when he was eating, it was not for sake of eating, but it was the way he was eating in company of Baba was very, very beautiful. And as you know that Baba in the beginning wanted sisters, came from families and didn't want it to deprive them of every taste or kind of food they liked. So Baba had these chefs came and they taught some brothers, sisters, learned to make everything. Even Dadi Prakashmani, you want gulab jamun, you want samosa, you want chips, right? Ice cream. So even there was simplicity, but Baba did fulfill whatever way children were used to. One time I was in Shantiban and some double foreigners were getting sick. So I thought I changed the whole menu and tried to remove fried food and everything. So I told them in class that that's what I've done. No, please, at least samosas, right? Don't tell them to stop that. What about chips in the evening? Why you all have to eat so much? Oh no, that definitely we want, right? So there was, uh, Baba fulfilled everyone's whatever everyone required. Baba said, okay, but we have to take care of our health, right? So whole yagya and in our personal life, brahmacharya, brahmacharya, Brahma, follow Brahma's acharan. And the quality of purity, other one was what we call it as dying alive. He changed from lokik to alokik. His relationship became soul conscious relationship. And you will hear the quote when he's saying that don't look at me as Brahma. Don't look at me as Dada Lekhraj. So new, complete new consciousness as his soul, as instrument of God, and my part as Brahma, and this is my unlimited family. You have seen in Madhuban, there are a lot of people offer their bhog, they call it dying alive bhog. So for all of us, actually, it is dying alive. But in this only what we have to remind ourselves that if I have died, from where these old sanskars are coming. That means I haven't died fully, right? Brahma Baba did die completely so that new sanskars emerge, pure sanskars emerge. And really joy of Brahman life is to see these new sanskars emerging with new awareness and consciousness. Because old sanskars will wander, make us wander around again, right? Which we have done enough in the past. New sanskars will guide us towards the new world. New sanskar will help us to feel close to Baba. So transformation, dying alive is transformation. And when you transform whatever percentage, you can feel happiness, you can feel contentment, you can feel good about it, right? Because when old come, you really, after that, sometimes you say something because you don't like later on when you realize, oh, I shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have said this. So let new one and divine pure ones emerge more. Because when I'm looking at someone as a soul, so very love emerges, right? We don't get caught up into roles and sanskars and all that, right? But first there is this love in our heart for everyone. And from that love there is care, there is cooperation. Somewhere old sanskars and battling with Maya take away our love. Otherwise there is so much love for the self, self-respect and love for others. And when there is a love, you feel so rich, so full. When there is no love, you feel empty, right? So that emptiness created then frustration, then anger, then irritation. We go back into a network of old sanskars. So dying alive and Brahma Ashram and new consciousness are three important aspects of purity. Because one is, of course, purity is conqueror of all the vices. But what about all the virtues? We keep just defending from vices, or we should uh, imbibe all virtues also. Where should I spend time? If I imbibe virtues, then all the weaknesses, defects will be removed, no? If I trust, if I have patience, you will find lot of weaknesses are gone. So just check there whenever old sanskar emerges. Think of the virtue. Let me have tolerance, or let me have love, let me have patience. Because I have to be all virtuous now. That is why Brahma-Baba, incorporeal, viceless, and egoless. So this new consciousness of who am I, Amrit Vela, good yoga, where the new consciousness, this awareness of soul consciousness remain created whole day. Actually, all degrees, artists, creative power, all that is in the purity. It is in the pure mind that God's thought emerge, what to do. One is to take care of routine service, other is when there is really pure heart, pure mind, clean, Mm. Baba makes you a very, very good instrument for making amazing things being done through us. So pure mind, pure heart is where God is able to put a thought in it and gives him power to do it in practical. So Brahma-Baba as Arjun, first important quality was his natural purity and pure love for everyone. We have felt so much happy just to meet Baba, look at Baba. He doesn't have to do anything or say, but there's such deep inner happiness. So purity keeps us light and happy. It takes us higher. Our thinking is higher and higher. And more higher, but very light. Internally, very light. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, dear Mohini Didi, and greetings, everyone. I'm sure everyone will agree that love and purity are probably the most popular virtues for Brahmins. And we were looking forward to an evening where we can hear more about purity. And we know it's such an essential virtue, of course. Just to stay a little bit more with your memories of Brahma-Baba and to bring you back into that time of being with Brahma-Baba, how did you witness the increase of purity in Brahma-Baba? Because we know it's a process, and he was already from the beginning very high in his purity, but did you see an increase, or how purity worked on him and how it even increased over the years?
Because purity was there from beginning, and but changing that purity into light, changing virtues, changing into expansion of his, kind of soul conscious love. That, I couldn't see how he's increasing, but I can see that he's becoming complete. So purity, I think, was there from very beginning. Okay, but then when there are pure thoughts and there is pure love, so you can see that there was, in looking at Brahma-Baba, you could just feel so much love. So I think changing purity then was into light. The first time when I went to meet Brahma-Baba in Bandhuban, I met him in Delhi before. So I had started going little bit, having visions. So he said, go and see what is the difference between Avyak Brahma and me. So I saw the difference. And I came and I was innocent. I should have told or not. So I said, Baba, that one had a lot of light. and I could see the difference of this Brahma and that Brahma. And of course, then when it became like him, then he became Avyakt, right? Then it took that place in subtle regions as Avyakt Brahma. So light was visible, and I think that his mercy, forgiveness, and I think he was lighter also. Like in the beginning, you still seem little serious, but then he started becoming, was very, very light. Like you saw Dadi Janki in the beginning when I came to know her, she was so serious. All the time she will just, we have to chant down it, you have to do tapasya, we have to. So in the beginning we used to say, oh, we like Dadi Prakashpani because she never talks about let's have chit chat. She will, be very light and natural and take care of us, feed us. And in the end, we saw that Janaki was so light. Every time we go, have you eaten something? Do you want something? It's like, So I think this inner lightness, not only that, but a very natural way of living. It doesn't look like separate. But what also manifests clearly is divinity. Purity start changing into, could see that divinity, which I think in the visions Brahma-Baba saw Vishnu, but also for us, like I start seeing lot of not only purity. Purity was not visible, but divinity was visible. So transformation in the form of increasing light and divinity and of course all the virtues.
How would you describe that divinity when you say you saw divinity in him? How was it?
It's a feeling, no? Divinity through eyes, of course, you see light around their faces, but I don't know how to describe divinity because, like, I feel sometimes, I used to feel lot from very beginnings, this divine being in me. This soul is a divine being in me. Always I felt it. So how to describe? I don't know how to describe divinity. I think this is more experience and feeling. No, you all must be feeling. No, once in a while, very, very divine, and so purity into divinity. Right? I mean,
I'm
even
asking
I can
because
look at the face, and I can see. Oh, these days you look very pure and divine, right? Because it's very visible. If there is doubt, confusion, tiredness, that's visible. But when light is visible, then divinity and lightness in general is there. Yeah, you have feeling, no, of divinity.
but no, it's good because on Zoom there's a little button in the settings and you can do touch up and you look less tired. Maybe Zoom will add a little button to say increase your purity in your divinity. But I'm asking because I had the thought to ask you to describe your experience when you go into, I know it's very difficult to describe purity, and you use the word energy, which I like very much that word, energy for purity. But if you were to, I was thinking, if we had to do a publicity for purity, how would you promote purity in a sense? If you go into the experience of being pure, how would you describe your experience when you feel that purity?
I think that we have to use word viceless. That might be easier because vices, even lust, anger, greed, attachment, that absence of these vices is purity, or changing of these vices into virtues. Every vice, in the sense of lust, Baba always says, lust could be both physically being celibate, free from desires also is part of the lust, removing lust. And then you feel that no, you don't have now physical attraction or any desires internally. So that could be described as purity. Then anger, in the beginning, then irritation, then force, control, many things of anger. And now you find that you are internally very calm, very peaceful. And so it's purity, So we can describe the each vice changing into a virtue and works positively is purity. I don't know, purity can be described as something which is unadulterated. Definition could be, when it's a pure water, purity in the sense of nothing is adulterated, nothing is mixed in that. So I always say that vices doesn't belong to the soul. They are, kind of pollution in the soul, adulteration in the soul. But soul is pure, but we have to remove this adulteration and become completely pure.
Every night you make us feel better than we are, I think, by either expressing what would be Baba's blessing to us, mentioning we are more pure sometimes than we think, and or more, whatever qualities, the quality of the day, you always tell us, but you have that already, or you are like that already. But as we know, purity is a process. And when we come to Baba, Baba tells us, like you said yesterday, he doesn't tell us, oh, you are sinful. He tells us you're a pure soul. But we know in listening to the Murli that when we come to Baba, we're at the lowest of purity and we have to regain maximum purity. And it should be for a reason that the memorial is the Mahabharata war, not just a nice walk in your auntie's home in a garden with cookies, but it is a Mahabharata war, where there is, you have to become viceless. It's a war. And for many of us, I'm saying many of us because I know it was easier for you, but for some of us, it's not that easy to become pure. And when we feel we have become a bit more pure, then we have a Avyakt Murli, and then Baba would say, even one thought of body consciousness is impurity. And I thought, oh, gee, so I thought I was not too bad. But now, listening to the Murli, his purity is so high. That is that even if your eyes go in the wrong way, that's impurity. And sometimes we can think, well, I'm so impure. So how can you help us not to be discouraged when we see how much we should be pure and knowing it's a process? What's your encouragement for us to be on that journey to reach 100% purity?
See, there is this pure desire. I want to be pure, right? And so purity is in the soul, but it's the acquired sanskars. They start dominating us. And some or other we don't recognize, so we go under the influence of sanskars, whether in body conscious emerges or, some attraction, distractions here, there. But sometimes I find that impurity is not very deep, what I'm saying? Deeply within there is purity. But acquired sanskars sometimes harass us or create greed but again, when you look at them, they are temporary. If you separate them, you are pure. You know what I'm saying? That even few thoughts come and then I say, oh, I'm impure. I'm not impure. But these thoughts are coming. I change them, make them pure. And that we start doing it. But if I say I'm not pure, things won't work, right? I am pure, but I get influenced. My sense organs are not completely under my control. And if I can do it, and for that, more contentment and attainments, as you said yesterday. Today I was thinking that renunciation of fortune are all together. It's not you get fortune in golden age and you renounce here. Anytime you renounce, there is fortune. You renounce, there is fortune. And that's why we are able to renounce more and more because we experience fortune and attainment. So I still will say that you all are Baba's children, very pure. And, just think of when, even as young Brahmins, we were together, there was purity, right? There was purity. At least I always felt, even when I'm with brothers or sisters or mothers, there's so much purity, so much love, pure love amongst ourselves. So, but I think that Maya, teases and we get really, really feel bad about it. But a time comes when this is Maya, let it go and, within a second. So why Baba talks of highest kind of purity? Because that's ultimately will happen. You will not would want to see, hear anything. A time comes really, as I know that even Kali Yuga news, you don't want to hear because it doesn't really help. But I know that Baba every night used, for 10 minutes, he used to turn on BBC and just little bit what is going on in the world. That's it. And whole day there was no contact with the world. And I know for you it's different. And even for me, I make it minimum and minimum. So that internally my vision for the new world, my aim and what Baba wants us to do shouldn't get faded at all because of that information of the world of sorrow. So I think that we all are pure, we are really childlike little children, very pure Baba's children.
But we can say now that with Avyakti Parivar, we listen to BBC every night. Brahma-Baba consciousness. So we have BBC every night. Brahma-Baba's consciousness. I know what, I knew you would make us feel better with purity because, as I mentioned, it is for some a battle. And Baba even mentioned that, in a way, I'm saying battle, I don't feel it as a battle now, but I know it takes time. And when particularly Baba mentions about couples, or I've known many brothers, friends of mine, who left basically their Brahmin life because of attraction and desire for relationships. And they couldn't get everything from Baba. And so they tried to attain it somewhere else. And so I'm curious to see how we can help, those for whom purity is not so natural. And
no, but they all come back, right?
Oh, they all come back. Okay.
They all come back in the sense, still they really want, even if they go and have experience, but still they don't want to live that life for long too. Maybe some live as companions and, some got companionship or even maybe physical relationship, but it didn't last for long. They still are attracted by purity. So as I feel that, they have this purity, but to become victorious, or maybe not having proper yoga or attainments, there's still the pull. But if soul receives and attains what is needed by the soul, I don't think, there will be attraction.
How do you think we can evaluate our stage of purity? How can we, sometimes Baba says, come and ask me, I'll tell you what you will become. How can we evaluate our own stage of purity?
Baba says that purity is the mother of peace and prosperity. So if your mind is peaceful, it's very deeply connected with purity. Your mind is loveful, it's because of the purity. So the purity is the mother of all these qualities. And when we are not peaceful, we are disturbed, we don't have contentment. So all that is impurity. So in Murli, Baba had been saying that purity is the mother of peace, love, and prosperity.
Last list of question before invoking Gayatri Ben. How would you describe the relationship between purity and truth?
I think that the truth is pure and purity is truth. Because when there is purity, you are in true identity or your heart is very truthful. So I think they both are very much connected with each other. In purity, you will love truth. You will want truth. You want to live as a truthful life. That's from the purity. And because you have experienced truth, you want to have purity. So they seems to be very interconnected.
Tonight, my experience was when I heard the voice of Sister Bhumi introducing the Hindi class. I felt suddenly as if I was in an Air India flight. And sometimes for us, we hear Hindi and we don't know what it says, but Avyakti Parivar, and I thought, oh, this is like we're in Air India and they're announcing, welcome to Avyakti Parivar flight 66. And now, with Mohini Didi. And now we just had entertainment on board. We had entertainment on flight. We had a movie. And now we're going to have Sister Yatri, who will provide the menu for tomorrow. She will tell us what's on the menu. So I feel tonight I'm on Air India flight on my way to Madhuban.
Yeah,
So
when you were Air
keeping
India
us
is still Air India is still flying, right, regularly.
still,
So we
the
make
Air
trips
Baba is
with
flying. So thank you, Mohini Didi and Yatri. Please tell us what's the menu today on Baba's flight for tomorrow. What are we going to eat?
Thank you, Eric. So, Bhumi Ben, once Eric starts teasing you, that means he's expressing his pure brotherly love for you. So
You're
we are
right.
all in India on Baba's flight. We are on BBC and we are on BBF Baba's flight.
But it was so sweet. The voice was so sweet, like, avec parivar mein. And then it really sounded like, oh, there's an announcement on the on the flight. I'm taking off. Please attach your seatbelt. And now listen to Mohini Didi.
Please put your videos on.
Please put your video on. Now you're going to fly. So
thank you, Eric. And
all right.
I want to start off the homework with a little story. And of course, I know Sister Muni enjoys these, the things that, the journey, the Abyak journey. And so I'll try to hurry up without speaking too fast. So I remember once I was talking to Sister Jayanti about a situation, and she was not seeing it according to what I was saying to her. And I remember saying it over and over and over. It wasn't a nice situation in so many different ways. I chose so many words. I tried to get her to see it, and she still wasn't seeing it. And so then I decided I'll go to Baba's room and complain to Baba that Sister Jayanti needs to see this thing and she's not able to see it. What's wrong with her? Why isn't she listening? Why isn't she understanding? Why isn't she? So as I was having the conversation with Baba, all of a sudden, I felt like I stopped complaining because I realized that because of her purity, she wasn't able to see what I was asking her to see. And that really struck me that to answer your question, how can you evaluate your stage of purity? I couldn't evaluate my own, but I definitely evaluated hers. And I went back to her and I said, Sister Jayanti, forget it. Don't worry about what I'm saying. You don't need to understand it. And then she looked at me and I said, because you're too pure. You won't be able to see what I am asking you to see. And that really left an impact on me. And so I wanted to share that story to open up this whole thing of purity and how purity manifests in our lives as we evolve. And so, could I have the roots and scars slide, please? And so, it's how we see the secret in purity. And of course, one of the ways we see it is our heart becomes a heart of truth. And of course, there's courage in our minds. So that's the way to evaluate it too. When I have those two qualities in me, I know it's because of purity. And so Father Brahma's vow of celibacy became the bedrock for world transformation. In his life of dying alive, a new consciousness was born. And I like the way Sister Mohini described this new consciousness that was born in him. This new consciousness, she said, developed into his complete Abhyat stage. And of course, the new consciousness is soul consciousness. And this made his personality, this purity of the Abhyat stage as he was moving toward it. And she was bringing messages back and forth to tell him the difference between him and Abhyat Brahma. As he was moving toward that personality, the purity started playing out in a very light and lively personality. And also, what she said, it was very beautiful in this new consciousness, is that purity is actually invisible. It is incognito, but his divinity started to be seen as something visible. And so I feel that as we are going to be looking at this whole thing of purity, we're looking at these 3 areas to understand purity in Brahma-Baba's life. Brahmachari, Sister Mohini described that very beautifully, because it applies the character and it applies the conduct. And, Brahmacharya, all the codes of conduct, all the customs and systems, all the maryadas are within that. And then the Marjiva, the dying alive, she was saying we die alive from our old sanskaras and we emerge the new ones. And it's beautifully, she says, it's when we live in the Marjiva state of purity that these pure sanskaras guide us to the golden age. And she also said that Marjiva is transformation of consciousness. That is where the transformation of consciousness occurs, when I die alive. And then, of course, the new consciousness is something that we have to understand as a constant and lifelong pursuit. So my whole Brahmin life is the word maybe is not pursuit, but I am becoming more and more pure. And this commitment to purity is also something that keeps me humble, and it keeps me connected to Baba's power of purification of the soul. But it also, I become easy and natural yogi because I take my one strength and one support from Baba. So as we are looking at purity, let's look at all of those areas tomorrow. And then let's go to the daily quote. And it is a very beautiful quote. And I think it's one of the most personal quotes because Baba was talking to himself. And he is saying, be sure that the person who was famous as Lakraj has died. Dying alive. That's what dying alive is. With whom should the new relationships be made? Only with the one who is truth. So it's in this quote, Baba is saying the one who was as famous as Lakraj has died. So he is dying away from an identity. But what was dying in this moving away from Lakraj was relationships. And that for me was very interesting. When we die alive, it's that we don't force ourselves to forget who I am, but it is as if I'm letting go of the relationships connected to this name, Lakraj, that I created as Lakraj. Now, many of you would then, I know some of you would send me emails saying, but Baba was talking to himself. So he said, this person who was famous as Lakraj has died. So do I repeat the same thing and write the same thing? Or should I say for myself, be sure that the person who was not as famous, but who was so-and-so has died, and use your own name? That's also fine. But sometimes it's very beautiful if we're connecting to Baba to also be objective and be detached and look at how Baba did it. And then that would help us also to maybe get that strength to die from our own identity. And of course, we'll do that through our contemplation and reflection. But I'd like you to also, in your journaling, ask this question that Eric asked, because I thought was very beautiful. How can you evaluate your stage of purity? How does it look? What does it look like? Or what is the benefit it brings me in my life? Okay, so we'll have a great time tomorrow in our exploration of purity to find the secret or to see the secret. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you very much. Now, welcome to Avyakti Journey. This is our second course in our flight, Avyakti flight. Of course, we are in the flight, and this flight takes all of us to Avyakt Vatan, which is subtle region. So it's a great one, right? So now today is the second Mohini Didi's time with Brahma-Baba's sweet memories that inspire and empower.
Om Shanti Vyakti Parivar. Oh wow, such a beautiful scene. I am seeing so many angels sparkling in Baba's love.
That is true, brother. All the effort our Avyakti Parivar is making is visible through their cheerful faces.
So many thanks to our beloved sister Gayatri, our brother Eric, and our special Mohini Didi, and of course, our loveliest Bab Dada.
I am so excited to know more about Didi's direct experiences with Sakar Baba. So, let's sit in our Viman of intellect and fly back to Sakar days with our Didi.
Wow, what a lovely picture! Didi, we have a question for you. What was the special occasion when this picture was taken? How old were you? What type of service Baba gave you during that time? And oh, also, what gifts did you receive from Baba at that time?
Well, Baba keeps saying, forget the past, and you want me to keep remembering the past. Well, of course, it's very, very beautiful to see myself with Baba, and I think this is the picture in front of the hut. At that time, hut was very simple. There was a lot of trees, and in between they had a beautiful hut. So one who is standing next to Baba with me is one of the brother Atam there in California. It's his mother, and so we had gone to Madhuban. A gift I always get from Baba was, of course, that closeness, standing next to Baba. Still, when I look at that picture, the sensation, happiness, and nearness belonging to Baba. And I find that every time I meet or any one of us met Baba, he will always give some blessing. And blessing could be just in the form of comments, common comments. He will say, child, you are very clever. Child, you are very serviceable. Because, when you take especially some IP souls, then Baba used to give blessings for more service. So always gift in the form of a blessing, and which gives us encouragement to do more and more service. I hope that's enough what I could remember and think of. Om Shanti. I think I was 23, I think 23 or 24 years old at that time. But I was always mature and smart in the sense of tall, and never looked very small. So must be 24 that age.
Om Shanti. Thank you, Didi. And now we'll be closing with Baba's remembrance. But take Drishti from Didi.
We all are very, very lovely children. Brahma-Baba loves us all. He takes care of us. And every day we are feeling very, very close, very near to Brahma-Baba. Each one of you can take picture with Brahma-Baba as I was standing, right? You can stand and think of yourself with Brahma-Baba. Om Shanti, good night, and thank you, Baba.